Awesome. Okay, well, moving on, we have next up Kyle Hamilton and Alex Hansen. Good morning, gentlemen. Kyle
Morning.
and Alex are both right here in beautiful Fernie, BC. And did I tell you how precious it is out the window here right now? It's just unbelievable. Kyle came to Fernie in 2006, and he has been eking out a living here as a successful photographer and entrepreneur. A few years back, Kyle created the I Am Fernie project, which was offered free portraits to anyone in town. The result, thousands of portraits and a spectacular visual reference to the people of the town of Fernie. It was remarkable. Check it out at imfernie.com. Kyle is an avid outdoor enthusiast and captures many stunning backcountry images. Alex, also here in Fernie, he is a filmer and sledder. Alex has put together a number of snowmobiling films through his media companies. Alex is a qualified blaster and works in the mining sector in the valley here as a blaster. Today, their topic, using immersive experience for hazard identification training. This is still in the development stage. They will present to us today visual tools for the avalanche industry that can be used in a variety of virtual educational settings. And they will be looking for collaborators and experts in the avalanche education field to help guide them in their development of these virtual products. So strap on your Oculus virtual reality goggles and let's go for a ride with Kyle and Alex. Gentlemen.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that introduction, Robin. So yeah, today our presentation is going to talk a little bit about who we are, our startup company, Sucra Interactive, give you a general overview of the value of training in a virtual reality environment and how we see it being applied to snow safety training and avalanche awareness training. The effectiveness of immersive training is well established, but since COVID-19 especially, it's becoming more relevant than ever. We believe this is the way forward to continue with the classroom component of backcountry education. And since we're unable to meet in person, we're unable to put you into a headset to give you the full experience, but we do have a screen capture video to give you a little bit of a sense of what it's like. As well as Robin mentioned, we are by no means experts in avalanche awareness or identification. And so as we're presenting, if you have any thoughts, feedback, or ideas on how you might be interested in implementing this with your project, we'd love to hear from you. So yeah, quick little synopsis. My background, moved to Fernie from Saskatchewan a number of years ago, and growing up in the flatlands and the prairies definitely took a while to understand and appreciate what avalanches and the risks associated were. I've worked around BC with a number of different cat and heli operations, and so all of my education has really come from talking to people and being in different environments. Over to you, Alex.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Hansen, and as Robin suggested, I'm a freelance backcountry cinematographer and a Transport Canada certified advanced drone pilot. And mostly what I do in the backcountry is extreme snowmobile content. So I'm one of those drivers that Andrea was talking about in terms of potentially pushing risk on other folks. As far as safety skills, I'm currently trained to AST level 2 through Avalanche Canada. And as Robin mentioned, I work in the mining sector. I'm also a certified mine rescue team member and a blaster at one of the local tech mines in British Columbia. So basically I handle explosives and provide on-call fire rescue service at a mine site for about half of my life. And then the other half of my life is flying robots, operating cameras, and acting as emergency response and first aid on all of our backcountry shoots. So I spend a lot of time in the mountains. Education is good. Could always use a little bit more myself. So I attend a lot of the snow workshops that have been going on in Fernie in the lead up to the ISSW. So I recognize the need for safety training in high-risk work environments, especially in backcountry travel. And so we've co-founded a new company, Sucra Interactive Technologies, and we're going to be focusing on immersive learning. And I definitely think there's a component to backcountry education.
Sorry, 2 seconds. I just realized my computer wasn't plugged in. All right, so yes, our company, Sucra Interactive Technologies, we are just a startup, and we are building this tool primarily for working in mining and other high hazard industries. However, we quickly recognized the potential value for this in avalanche terrain identification and other hazard awareness in backcountry settings. So we're going to kick it back over to Brent to start up the video, and Alex will walk you through what we've developed so far.
Okay.
You're good to speak there, Alex.
Finally got unmuted there. Okay, so we did do some filming in Avalanche Canada assessed terrain. This is north of Elkford and Cocoa Claims here in the BC Rockies. We're also working on a component of pre-trip planning. Obviously, having a good plan before you leave the backcountry is definitely part of the safety scenario. So we're able to use the avalanche.ca website, and kind of we're working on utilizing the risk reduction tools. This is more focused for snowmobilers who may, in some cases, travel a lot more in the backcountry in terms of access to terrain. You can go a lot further and faster on a snowmobile. So yeah, all kinds of stuff on the website. There's also a component here of staging where we can start to teach people group dynamics. I'm actually doing a transceiver check here, and Joe didn't have his on for the shoot, which is quite interesting. So always good to make sure that everybody's got their transceiver on. Here's the next scene. We were talking about using the evaluator tool in the avalanche terrain exposure scale map, and we could talk about the use of different tools. Again, more group dynamics here. So we're just moving the camera around, the headset around. These are screenshots from inside of a headset. You don't get the 3D experience, but again, you can see at a key decision point, you know, what do the cornices look like? Does the weather match what the forecast said? Again, talking about making decisions and teaching people how to make correct decisions is one of the plans. And finally, here we've reached our planned destination. As you can see, we're completely surrounded by multiple hazards. But the view certainly is incredible here in the BC Rockies. This is about 60 kilometers north of where we're at right now in Fernie. Just amazing terrain on the Continental Divide. Pretty stunning. But again, I put people in those positions immersively. And then, of course, who doesn't like a good quiz? Here we are talking about matching danger ratings. Some of this stuff is fairly simple for a lot of you folks who are pretty advanced in your education. But I think in terms of providing basic education and testing regimes and feedback to folks on what they know and what they don't know, and areas that they can focus in on, just a basic snapshot of what's possible with immersive technology. So I'll hand you back to Kyle.
Thanks. So, question we're often asked is, why use virtual reality? It's our current training systems already work. Why do we need to utilize new technology? Our answer is, we're not trying to replace the current training, the current techniques, everything. Virtual reality is there to help augment them. Virtual reality is also not new. It has changed quite rapidly, even in the last 2 or 3 years, the technology available. Previous iterations of virtual reality environments were very graphical environments. They were video games. Whereas now, with advances in technology, we're able to capture film live action scenes in a 360-degree environment with 3D depth of field included in the viewing process. And this just really helps to create a much more immersive experience when you put the headset on. So what's the advantages of immersive training? A lot of academic research that's been academic-led and industry-led is showing the tremendous benefits of virtual reality training. If you think of it like an elite athlete doing visualization before a big event, putting somebody into an immersive environment allows them to visualize and experience the situation without having to be exposed to all the hazards and dangers of being in that location. Learning through experience is the best education, and using an immersive environment helps create better, more vivid memories. Memories are what help rapid recall of data. So some statistics available through a lot of the research: experiential learning creates 75 to 90% higher data retention. 35 to 40% of individuals who undergo immersive training have an increase in their confidence in their understanding and ability to act on these learnings. Learners are 3.75 times more likely to become emotionally connected to the content than just a traditional classroom setting. And perhaps the most important for high hazard situations is that 75% of learners experience a wake-up call moment. So that's kind of that aha, oh yeah, okay, this is serious. This can kill me or seriously hurt me. Another portion or reason for using virtual reality training is costs. So a quick cost breakdown is course costs $350 for a 2-day course. That's if you happen to live within an hour's drive or live close by. You can easily start adding on travel and accommodation, costs for missed work, and repeating the course throughout over the course of the winter so that you maintain the freshness of the information. With a virtual reality system, you'll have about a $400 upfront cost to purchase the hardware, and then hypothetically $100 to use the course, to get the course into your headset, and you can use it multiple times. Back over to you, Alex.
So a little bit on the data side, we're not just talking about using immersive experiences to teach people on the front end. The learning is, in fact, a two-way street. So one of the things we're developing on the back end is a digital platform to capture all of the testing data for competency-based certification. So learning management system, pretty standard in most heavy industries and their training departments. We think that this concept of a learning management system can be brought into the backcountry safety world quite easily. And this means that organizations in the various countries that participate in handing out certification for avalanche awareness training can access the learning data to certify based on competency-based testing, sort of like what we saw in the demo. So imagine getting educated through immersive learning, being able to repeat the course 4 to 5 times or more during a season to, as Kyle said, stay really fresh with the material, and refining that knowledge through multiple sessions and receive competency-based certification for your selected course. So pretty exciting times, I think, in terms of what the learning potentials are for immersive experiences, and we are looking for industry partners to help us to develop these platforms. So if you're interested, you can contact us through the ISSW team. Thank you.
And that's essentially the gist of our presentation. We've tried to keep it as short and sweet as possible to allow for much time for questions and any feedback or thoughts on directions that you'd like to see this go.
Wow, this is just incredible, you guys. Can't believe this. So realistic. Oh, there's a cabal. Okay, well, thank you very much, Kyle. You guys, that was an incredible presentation, and I think futuristic view of avalanche education, and the potential is pretty much unlimited. As AI and 3D technologies continue to advance, I'm sure this concept will gain some traction. I just want to thank you from all of us at the DSSW for your participation. And yeah, we have time for a few questions. Any questions from the floor?
We have a question from the floor from Eric Yu. Go ahead, Eric. Hi, Eric. We had a question from the floor from you. Maybe you put your hand up inadvertently. We're going to cancel that. And do we have any more questions from the floor? We have a question from the chat box.
Yes, this question is coming in from Ron. Do you have an on-mountain decision-making exercise? Is there evidence of better training retention with virtual reality? And are there similar physiological reactions like HRRR, hand, palm sweating with VR as in reality?
Yes, to all of those. Just trying to recall all the. First question was about an on-mountain decision-making component. Yes, we have that. We're developing that. That is the crux of what we're wanting to build and develop. The question about the physiological response, yes, it's not necessarily every individual is going to respond the same way, just like in real life on the side of the mountain. But you can track a lot of those physiological responses. That starts getting into some ethical issues when you start looking at the biometric feedback that is still trying to be worked out by the ethicists, and how you track that data and how you respond to that data. But yeah, there is a lot of data out there about how the human body reacts in a virtual reality environment, and the thought process that you go through.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope that answered your question, Ron.
We have no more audio questions from the floor.
We have one more coming in from the chat box. This one's from Eva. Thanks, Kyle. How long do you think till this technology will become inclusive past the early adoption phase?
That's a really good question. We don't really have can't say as I have a solid answer for that. It's something that is being deployed in a lot of large corporations. It's certainly gaining more and more traction in industry. What the time frame is for everyday users to start adopting it, it's tough to really put a date to that, but it's happening faster and faster with industry.
Awesome. And then one more question from the chat box. This one is from Steve Scott. This would be amazing for immersive terrain travel learning. An overlay of slope angles while traveling through virtual terrain. Oh, sorry, question just disappeared. An overlay of slope angles while traveling through virtual terrain would be really cool. Would that be possible?
Yeah, that's completely possible in terms of the virtual environment. But I think later on in the future, what's going to be really interesting is the notion of augmented reality. So a pair of glasses that you're putting on, or potentially ski goggles with a heads-up display that's actually showing you real-time information based on the terrain that you're actually in connection with global internet connection. So the future is pretty interesting. I think in terms of slope angles and decision-making, graphics, overlays inside of virtual reality, all of that stuff is possible right now.
Any more questions? All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Okay, that pretty much wraps up this program for this morning's session. I want to thank all of our presenters again for participating in this virtual snow science workshop. All of those tied together really well, and that research and products will give us hopefully a better understanding of how people make decisions in the terrain, which is, in my view, the most important aspect of traveling in backcountry. I would like to thank our panel again for sponsoring this session. And at that point, I guess, looking around, there's nothing else for me. Thank you very much for tuning into this morning's session. And I'll pass this back to James. Thanks. Oh man, I need a cigarette or something.
Thanks very much, Robin. Robin comes under the headings sometimes of do not try this at home. Thanks again to all the speakers in the first session. We're going to take a break now. one of the salient points from some of those sessions was something the ISSW committee has been wrestling with, and that's really the question of how far technology can take us, and when we need to turn back to the tangible elements of our life, such as in-person meetings, training, and real-world experiences. So I really appreciate the thought-provoking discussions that we've had in all of the last talks in the session. One thing for the break that Brent mentioned previously, please check your microphone settings. See if you can make sure that you have a microphone connected. And when you rejoin the session, you can use the audio section in the webinar controls and try and run a little sound check in that section there. That will prepare you for when you would like to jump into a question. And that will be very pertinent for the next session, which is our panel discussion. And that will be entitled Next Level Professionalism, Integrating Professional Snowmobilers with Established Snow and Avalanche Communities. So we'll shut this down now, and you will have to rejoin the webinar by clicking on the Go to Live link in the presentation website. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you at 10:30.